Hey, this is your friend in wrestling, Stephen Platinum, with Platinum versus Raw from June 9th, 2020. We open with they tell us what we're going to see tonight, which is really great. However, there's something pretty notable I'm going to talk about in just a moment. So we get that Edge is going to be on Christian's talk show, The Peep Show. So that's definitely interesting. We're going to have Street Profits versus the Viking Raiders in yet another competition that has nothing to do with pro wrestling. In this case, a decathlon, which I'm actually hopeful for because the vignettes so far have been absolutely dreadful. But I actually think the decathlon idea is a better one because it'll be a series of one-off jokes. I'll talk about that more when that comes up. And then the VIP lounge featuring MVP is going to have Bobby Lashley. So we have no matches announced for the show. What the heck? A 3-hour wrestling show and we don't even have a main event to talk about? The reason becomes clear after the first major bit. So Asuka's coming to the ring. And they don't really announce why. There's sort of this vague thing put out that she's going to wrestle Charlotte. Is it for Asuka's title? We don't know. Is that match taking place now? Asuka seems to think so. But Sasha and Bayley come to the ring. Okay. And they talk and they yammer back and forth of little consequence. And then the Iconics come to the ring. Huh? Okay. And they talk about how they have a match, which why not? They haven't won a tag match in a while, but okay, they're going to take on Sasha and Bayley, and then the people that Sasha and Bayley beat for the Raw Women's Tag titles, Nikki and Alexa Bliss, who are not on the show whatsoever, by the way. What? Okay. But they're going to wrestle this Sunday. All right. And then Charlotte comes to the ring and talks a little smack. And then there's a bit of a scrub and a dust up where everybody's kind of fighting each other. What? And then they go to commercial. During this commercial, we have the Edge and Orton gonna be the greatest wrestling match of all time. Maybe, possibly. There's a chance they can do it, which is now what that's been reduced to. My kids watched a lot of Raw with me. I say a lot of Raw, even though they were there the whole time, because they were not interested in almost anything in this show, which is noteworthy because once in a while I'll have my kids watch a wrestling show with me, and in certain wrestling shows they'll pick out things that they like. My kid started laughing because of the song playing during the Edge and Orton build in that commercial. She goes, "Oh, it's from The Greatest Showman." Isn't this supposed to be some kind of tough athletic competition? They've got some song from The Greatest Showman. So she laughed about that. I didn't even notice that, but she most certainly did. We come back from commercial. We've got 3 teams going against each other. Okay. Is there a title on the line? Nobody explains anything. This is Raw. They don't explain anything, and they don't really introduce you to what's going on if you're not already one of the informed. I hate it. I hate that. So we've got Bayley and Sasha Banks. We've got the Iconics. That makes sense, I guess. But then we have Asuka teaming with Charlotte. The Vince Russo-esque wacky tag team partners who hate each other. Oh, boy. So the match goes on. It's fine. There's spots in this match that don't make any sense at all in context. Sort of stuff like Sasha will ground somebody, knock one of the Iconics down, and then she'll wait for her to start to get up, and then she'll just take off towards the ropes. This is a spot that's commonly done in a lot of matches nowadays, but I just despise it. Can't you justify why you're taking off on the ropes besides This is where we're going for our new spot. Even just a look of, I'm sneaking up behind you. I'm going to hit the ropes from behind you to try to hit you from the back. I don't know. There's just, everything is through the motions. That said, the women's matches were the best things on this card by a long shot. And that's interesting to me. Asuka gets the hot tag, and boy, does she have the pepper in the fire. There are people who don't get Asuka's thing. I very much do. She's one of these people that's engaging. When she takes the microphone, you know it's going to be something noteworthy, and she forces you to lean in and listen. And then when she wrestles, when she gets a hot tag, that's a hot tag. I mean, she's all over the place. She's very excited, very pumped up. And Charlotte, as usual, I know people want to declare Charlotte the greatest ever, and perhaps she is. I will allow that. But boy, she just has a way of just taking away from what everybody else does, and she does this sort of golf clappy thing, and it's just it just sort of lowers the whole moment. We go to commercial, and then we come back. So now for this thing, we've already gone into 2 commercial breaks. Wow. So Asuka tries to put in the Asuka lock, and then she eventually does, and she wins it for her team. But Charlotte attacks her to set up the fact that they're going to have a match later, which I guess they were going to have now, which Asuka seemed to be expecting, but they didn't. And so they wrestled in this tag thing. Charlotte, who was about to win the match, but then Asuka tagged herself in and then won. So that's heat, I guess. That's sort of the theme for this Raw as I go. That's heat, I guess. So we go into Seth Ray stuff. They do a good job of cropping and shortening the interview stuff from last week, which did seem to be very awkward for Rey Mysterio and his son. They showed how Aleister Black got attacked by Seth Rollins and his crew. Seth Rollins comes to the ring, and we go to commercial. Seth and Ray are talking to each other on a split screen, which I think works pretty well. I'm surprised they didn't do it last time. And Aleister attacks Seth as he sits in the chair, which was a great spot, a nice surprise. But they did this a few times during the show where they would have something that sort of would pop up and happen, and it would be really great, and then they would just go right to commercial. And they do it here too. And now we got Humberto coming to the ring, who I guess is teaming with Aleister against Austin Theory and Murphy. Okay, another match that seemingly pops up out of nowhere, which they could have announced at the top of the show, but they did not. Very strange. Again, I don't get the plan to get people to watch this show throughout this 3-hour thing. I just don't get it. It's a good match. The big kick off of the ropes thing on Murphy, I thought worked really well for a finish. It was nice to see a finish that was a little different. Then Seth appears at the top of the ramp and Ray's mask. We have an interview with Randy Orton, who sort of notes, hey, is, Christian and Edge, it's just going to be Edge on Christian shows? Yep. Oh, cool. I guess I'm going to show up for that. So for all of the promo segments, they do lead-ins, but for the matches themselves, they don't even announce them. It's very weird. Just a very strange show. It feels like it's trying to find itself, which for a show that's been around as long as this one, it's very odd. The commercial happens, so we get a lot of ads for what's happening on NXT, where they promote, matches, which Raw does not. Then we have Christian, and then we have Edge. A good promo segment between the two, where Christian is sort of going at Edge hard to the surprise of Edge, and attempting to get Edge in that place where he can wrestle the greatest match ever. Okay. Randy Orton comes to the a little video thing where he goes, the redemption of Edge is over, and Edge goes, no, it's not, drops the mic. Again, something they took a bit of a chance with. I thought it worked. I could see where other people would think that it did not. Regardless, it sets up their match yet again for Sunday. All right. Then we interview MVP in the back. He's got a Shad shirt on. Nice little touch, I think. Then again, another surprise. R-Truth comes out talking about the 24/7 title and how MVP needs to not tell anybody where he is. Really funny. He and MVP have a little bit of an interplay, but then out of nowhere, Lashley comes with the full Nelson and locks it in. And we go to commercial. Really interesting. Why does Lashley not lock in that full Nelson long enough to take him out and then MVP get the pin and take the 24/7 title off of R-Truth? So we have a little intrigue, we have a little mixing of people, we have a little additional heel heat put on. Just a thought. I normally hate sort of armchair booking stuff, but to me it just seemed like an opportunity lost there. All right, now we're into the decathlon. I will say this is the best of the vignettes that they've done, because their thing is a series of, between the Street Profits and the Viking Raiders, one-off jokes, which do not work in 5-minute vignettes. But here you basically had a bunch of one-off jokes. We're good at this, you're not. We're good at this, you're not. And for the most part, it goes whatever the events that the Viking Raiders wanted, they won at, and whatever the Street Profits won, they won at, until the shot put, which the Street Profits win. So now that puts them up 5-3 in the best out of 10. And then they just go off their own logic. If it's been a Street Profits event, then a Viking Raiders event, now we have, it's whatever. Because, I mean, there was a dance-off, which the Viking Raiders lost. But that was a Street Profits event. And oh no, I guess it's fine. Everything about it is just really strange. And then here it is. So the Viking Raiders pick shot put as the event. So they lose their own event. So oh no, it's kind of like having your serve broken in tennis. But then they pick the next event too. Makes no sense. So it's the turkey leg event, which they win. And then it's the pole vault event. I guess what they wanted to do is they wanted to get it in this mystery thing of like, oh no, the Street Profits are going to win for sure because the last event is a pole vault. But then the Viking Raiders win. Haha, isn't that funny? By the way, it was not. That was the thing that fell off the most. Terrible. But it's tied 5-5. That's the point. Great. Then we go to Apollo Crews, showing us a series of things where he's been doing great lately, win the U.S. title. He talks. Again, I'm still looking for him to make that amazing promo. And the opportunity is there. He's a black man as the U.S. champion, but we're not getting any of that vibe. We're just getting the normal selfish, I'm so happy to be the U.S. champion, but not, I'm very proud to represent in this troubled time, blah, blah, blah. But I guess the WWF is going with this thing of we're an escape from troubled times instead of acknowledging them, which seems positively dated and passé. I just think it's a very silly thing to do at this point, is to not take advantage. So now we're going to have a triple threat match, which again makes no sense. Angel Garza, Andrade, who are teammates, and Kevin Owens in a three-way dance. The winner gets a match against Apollo Crews for the U.S. title at the pay-per-view. What the heck? It seems pretty unfair. Who made this match? It just nothing feels ordered. Nothing feels like it makes sense. But Kevin Owens attacking Angel Garza and Andrade as they come to the ring certainly makes sense. And then we go to a commercial. Another great sneak attack. Go to a commercial. That's their tactic to hook and drag. I don't hate it, but boy, do they use it a lot. We've got a KO stunner in the ring where he's going to get the win, but then Andrade pushes him off and he steals the pin. I don't really need to describe this match, do I? The inevitable breakdown happens. Zelina inadvertently gets pushed to the ground, so she's mad about it, blah, blah, blah. We have an interview with Charlotte, which is honestly of little consequence, but Asuka comes in and sort of taunts her. Okay. I wrote down in my notes, here's my predictions for the Charlotte-Asuka match that's going to happen later. It's not going to be for Asuka's title, though we'll never announce it. Nia Jax will appear at the end at some point, distracting Asuka because baby faces are dumb, and then Asuka will get pinned by Charlotte, which helps nobody and nothing going into any of it. That's my prediction. We'll see if it comes true. uh, go to a commercial break. Here's what's noteworthy. Lately, on these commercials of like then this happens. It must be Monday night. That's their commercial for Raw that they have during Raw. They've been showing sort of the newer stars, the Street Profits, for example, and this is how and Drew McIntyre, which is really good. These are the new faces of Raw. But on this one, they don't show the new people. They just have like a series of things happen and they go, it must be Raw, which is, you're already going away from promoting your, again, small stuff that a lot of people maybe wouldn't notice, but I think it just speaks to a bigger problem. Zelina's mad when we come back from commercial. Okay. Then Edge and Randy Orton, boy, they're pushing that, aren't they? Holy guacamole. Kurt Angle comes out, says how they have a chance to wrestle the greatest match ever, so that's now yet somebody else that they've trotted out to sort of put this thing over. And then he predicts that Edge is going to win. Okay. Viking Raiders have a bit of a weird promo thing with Drew McIntyre, where Drew McIntyre goes like, you want to watch the VIP lounge because you never know what can happen on Raw, and sort of hinting this is a chance for the Viking Raiders to get involved in a fight, which they seem happy to do, I guess. Commercial. Wow. VIP lounge, MVP talking to Drew McIntyre. The Viking Raiders come out, the Street Profits come out for this whole hubbub, but the Viking Raiders and Street Profits appear to be allies, or at least cool with each other. What the heck? And we come back from commercial, and what's the match that we've made? The Viking Raiders against MVP and Lashley with the Street Profits watching? Like, what? Okay. So what's the point of all of these vignettes between the Viking Raiders and the Street Profits? Obviously, the tiebreaker is going to be they're going to have a match with each other, but it's the point of a month's worth of these silly vignettes not to generate some kind of heat? I guess the answer is no. This is a heatless show for the most part. It's just a show without heat, except for the future. But, and then all the heat's generated in like an internal thing, but then goes away. So it's like between Andrade and Garza, where we get mad at each other in the match, we push Zelina down, but there's no consequences to any of it, right? Even her getting pushed down is sort of handled with, but you're okay, right? And then she just acts mad and storms off. Like, there's no sustained heat in any of this, and Edge and Orton are getting a huge part of the attention, that's for sure. But okay, so there's no heat for Street Profits and Viking Raiders. I guess they're kind of friends through these vignettes. Well, that's certainly not interesting. Lashley wins with a full Nelson on one of the Viking Raiders, predictably. Then we go to commercial. Edge and Orton commercial again, and my kid notes it's another Greatest Showman song. Now we have Asuka versus Charlotte. Okay, is it for a title? I don't know. And Charlotte, who dismisses every loss in her promos. So what are the stakes for this? They kind of said it, but they didn't push the idea of Asuka's never gotten that big win over Charlotte. This could be interesting, which again, it tells me my predictions are going to be absolutely true. And we go to commercial. And then we go to more of the match, and then the Iconics attacking Bayley and Sasha out of nowhere. Again, the common theme for this Raw. And then we go to commercial. And then I get the idea of like, okay, this is not for the title. And then the end happens as I wrote in my notes earlier. Nia Jax shows up. Asuka gets distracted by her, gets hit with a big boot and pinned by Charlotte. Nothing is advanced. No one looks good. God, it's terrible, man. Not a great Raw, not a great showing, not a great Raw for people who had never seen it before, haven't seen it in a long time. Like my kids, they were completely not into any of it and just kept asking, how long is this again? Yeah. I will be interested in seeing the ratings for this one. I imagine they will be absolutely dismal. But I will continue to sally forth and take a look at these shows, especially the big issues that they're bringing up for me, which will then be get said to you. My name is Stephen Platinum, and this has been Platinum vs. Raw, and I am, as always, your friend in wrestling.